Hello everybody and welcome back for some weekly VR news. As always, I'm Mateo311 and this is your channel for everything VR related. Today's video is all about the VR games. Some excellent titles are getting ported to new VR platforms. There's release dates for upcoming projects like Zombie Army VR and the Vertigo 2 DLC. Some additional games were recently announced, and there's another VR showcase right around the corner. Now there are of course links and timestamps if you want to skip ahead, but before we jump in, today's video is brought to you by the upcoming co-op shooter Exoshock. Exoshock takes inspiration from other exciting titles such as Dead Space, Helldivers, and From Other Suns. You get that creepy, claustrophobic space station vibe from Dead Space, the fast-paced intensity of Helldivers, with the cooperative shooter aspects of From Other Suns. Now, I recently tried two separate builds of this title, the first being on the show floor at GDC, where they just wanted to give people a little preview of the style they were gunning for, and then I received access to another build, which actually allowed me to get more into the gameplay. Overall, I am extremely intrigued with all aspects of this title. Even on a Quest headset, I was truly impressed with the overall graphics. They've also built up a sci-fi world that's got its own unique sense of style, but most importantly, they are focusing on the co-op gunplay mechanics, making sure the weapons feel extremely impactful. And this isn't just another run and gun, mindless co-op shooter. So if that sounds like something you're interested in, they're currently running a closed beta that you could try to get access to, or you could wishlist this game for the Meta Quest and steamvr with the link down in the description. Okay, so let's start this video off like normal with the check-in, and that's what exactly have I been up to in the VR world. Well, I'm a week back from PAX and I'm still playing catch up. There is so much going on right now, and I'm about to leave for another super secret VR project that I'll be talking about in the near future. Excited for that one. But I'm even more excited to tell you guys about another project I've been working on for the last year. I'll tell you what it is, then I'll give you the quick backstory. But I got the VR showcase at PAX East to be upgraded this year so that it's awesome. We have a lot of Quest 3s coming in. I think there's going to be about 30 of them in total, but they'll be switching them back and forth. So maybe 15 on the floor. They also got Valve Indexes and a bunch of new games. So if you're going to PAX East, you can go check out VR. It should be a really good showcase. Now the backstory really quick was in 2019, I went to PAX East, first time I ever went there, and they had an amazing VR showcase. I mean, they were doing a really great job representing VR. Unfortunately, COVID closed it down and they didn't bring it back until 2024, and it was horrible. It was all the original hardware, CV1s and HTC Vives and all the original games, nothing new. It didn't represent VR, and it was behind closed doors. You couldn't even watch people play, which is a great part of VR, and to showcase it. So I made it my year mission to get that resolved. And I spoke to everyone I could, the people that work at PAX, people at Meta, game studios, everybody, to get this stuff into PAX East. And I'm very proud of myself. I'm going to double tap my shoulder there, be very happy, brush it off. And if you're going to PAX East, you'll see me there. So that was a big project that I'm very happy to talk about. Well, let's go ahead and get into this week's news, which is all about the new VR games. Now, first up is something I've said many times before, and I promise you this is the last time I'm going to say it, but Wanderer Fragments of Fate is releasing this week. That is 100% for real this time. No more delays, and if it gets delayed, I'm done with this game. But no, I have access. I will have a video up on Friday for the title. That's what's coming. I'm not going to talk about it because I've talked about it a million times. Just wait for my video. Come back on Friday. So subscribe, turn notifications on. And on that note, guys, we're really close to 100K. So if you watch this channel and you're not subscribed, click it, please. All right, let's go on to the other VR title launching this week. Pinball FX VR. Are you looking to dive into the ultimate 1980s arcade pinball atmosphere? Well, that's what Pinball FX VR offers up. It's releasing with 3 iconic tables, but there'll be an extensive library of additional tables to choose from. There's a global campaign mode that offers up unique missions and special rewards. You can play in both virtual or mixed reality, and there's also a whole bunch of arcade-style mini-games included with this title. Now, apparently this also works with my X Arcade, so if you find yourself missing that real-life feedback, just know it's available in hardware form. Now, unfortunately, that's all of the games releasing this week, but like I said, this video is all about new VR games, and we have 7 more topics to go over. First is the action-adventure title Resist, making its way over to the PlayStation VR 2. Resist is a story-driven single-player shooter set in a dystopian future where you find yourself swinging around the city, fighting tons of robots, unlocking new weapons and abilities, all while experiencing an interesting story-driven campaign. Now, this title was really well received when it released on both PC VR and the Meta Quest, so I'm really happy to see that it's getting ported to the PlayStation VR 2, and now all VR gamers will have access to this Spider-Man with guns style of gameplay. Now, sticking with titles getting ported to new platforms, the ultra-brutal John Wick-style shooter Hard Bullet is making its way onto the Quest 3. If you want to know what Hard Bullet's all about, imagine something like Blade and Sorcery set in modern times, and instead of having access to magic, you have an arsenal of military-style weapons. So you get that same style of ultra-brutal kills, ragdoll physics, and tons of blood and guts, but now you're just in a modern timeline. Now, I have tried some really early builds of this game, but I'm talking years old. And at that time, it felt quite janky, but so did Blade and Sorcery when it originally came out. So I need to jump back in and see how this is, and more importantly, see how well they ported it to the Quest 3. I know people love this style of game, and it could be very memeable, so I'm looking forward to it. Now, moving over into some game updates, we got a new trailer for Blackgate, and also release windows for Vertigo 2's new DLC and Zombie Army VR. Now, starting with Blackgate, this is a new asymmetrical multiplayer title that feels like a combination between Dead by Daylight and Among Us. One player takes on the role of an alien creature trying to hunt down everybody else, while the engineers have to focus on repairing a derelict spaceship. Now, this all takes place in an extremely creepy atmosphere, but you'll also be floating around in zero-G and using mechanics that were inspired by Echo Arena. Overall, this sounds like a winning combination to me, except for the fact that I know many people can't handle VR horror, but I'm still keeping my hopes up for this one. And speaking of high hopes, the DLC for Vertigo 2 Into the Aether is coming April 25th. Now, if you've never played the Vertigo series, they are easily some of the best VR games available. The developer has labeled these games as Half-like, as they're clearly inspired by the Half-Life series, but I always describe it as Half-Life meets Rick and Morty because it has a really zany sense of humor. But honestly, this series offers up so much: great graphics, incredible weapons, a lengthy campaign, tons of surprises, and soon what I expect will be a badass DLC. I don't care what's going on in my life, I'm jumping into that title as soon as possible. And last up, we have an update for Zombie Army VR. This is a co-op zombie shooter set in World War II and based on the flat screen series of the same name. Now, similar to the treatment that Sniper Elite got, this is a whole new story-driven campaign and not a port of the flat screen title. Now, I actually tried a demo of this months ago back at Gamescom, and I know a lot of people had a very poor experience with it, and I don't know if I just got lucky or whatever the case was, but I did not see any immediate glitches or crashes or, any performance issues. It was pretty much what I was expecting. I don't understand why they showed the demo without audio. It was just the most bizarre choice. Headphones exist. I know they didn't want to put earplugs in people's ears for sanitary reasons, but headphones exist. This was a very bizarre choice. I don't know what that was about. And there were definitely some design choices that didn't make sense, that felt a little bit like Sniper Elite, where you kind of just place your hand over something and press a button, or you open up an inventory rather than grabbing things off holsters. So it didn't feel as VR as it should, but it also felt like the same mindless, fun action that I was expecting. Tons of zombies, they're walking out, blow up a canister, light 50 of them on fire, see points pop over their head, feel good about yourself. That's kind of what I was expecting, and I'm still actually pretty excited for this one. Fingers crossed that it's not the mess that other people saw, and my experience will be more like the final release experience, but I don't know. I don't know what happened there, because when I hear people dogging on it really bad, I'm like, I went in expecting X and I got X. I didn't get bugs. I didn't get glitches. I would have liked sound. And yes, it didn't feel as VR as it should have been. But mindless fun that I expect from the Zombie Army series. I've played them flat, and that's what I was expecting here, and it felt good. So, like I said, high hopes still. Ramble. Now, for those of you looking for brand new games to talk about, we just got 2 new announcements. The first is Elements Divided, a Last Airbender inspired multiplayer game. You get to master elements like Earth, Wind, Water, and Fire, and then battle it out against one another. Now, there's both PvP and co-op modes, full character customization, and tons of different skills to unlock and master. Now conceptually, I think this title is extremely sound, but I really need to see how the mechanics operate, or more importantly, how they feel. If they're able to build a solid combat system, I'm absolutely sold on this one. And last up, a brand new Star Wars mixed reality title has been announced. From the same studio that gave us Vader Immortal and Tales from the Galaxy's Edge, we're getting Star Wars Beyond Victory. Now there's not much known about this title just yet, but we do know that it will be a pod racing experience, which sounds pretty badass to me. I'm not exactly sure how they're going to make that work in mixed reality just yet, but the overall polish and production value from ILM is usually top notch, so I'm definitely excited. And the last topic in today's news is we are getting another VR gaming showcase this upcoming Friday on April 4th. My buddies over at Ruff VR, Damien and Brian, they are putting together their second annual VR gaming showcase. They're promising plenty of new announcements, game updates. They have me excited. I hope it's pretty badass. So go check it out. Go subscribe to their channel. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss their showcase. Obviously, I'll recap it for you guys, but I'm intrigued because they sound pretty damn excited. And that right there was today's video. If you guys enjoyed it, please go ahead and give me a thumbs up. I always love hearing your feedback, including just random questions. I have a new series where I answer your questions in shorts, so drop anything you're thinking about down below. And if you're new here, please consider subscribing.